Hey everybody, it's Premiere Gal here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to work with green screen video inside of Premiere Pro. I downloaded this stock green screen video clip featuring clouds from HD Green Studio, and I'm going to show you how to chroma key out the green background in Premiere Pro using the Ultra Key effect. Now, chroma key literally means the ability to replace a block of color with another image. Now, you can key out any color, but green screen is most common because it's so different from the color of human skin. If you're ever recording green screen, just tell your subjects, please don't wear green, because otherwise we will see the background and their shirts and their clothes, and that would not be great. But luckily, for this tutorial, there are not human subjects in the shot, it is just clouds, so we don't have to worry about what the subjects were wearing. So let's go ahead and get started. Here in my timeline, I've edited this opening credits sequence. Now, I want to place these clouds in the scene to make the opening sequence more visually interesting and to make it appear as if the clouds are literally a part of the scene. So first, get to know your green screen background. Ideally, a green screen background should be even in color and evenly lit so it's nice and bright, no shadows, and when you edit it, the footage should be in its most uncompressed format so you don't have to deal with noise. Now, because we're working with a stock video footage of these clouds, we don't have any of these issues. You can see that the video is evenly lit. It's not going to propose any problems for us, and we won't have to make too many adjustments to the Ultra Key effect. So to get started, I'm going to double click on the shot from the project panel, and it will appear in the source panel. And I'm going to select I for the in point, the point where I want the clip to start, and I'm going to click O for the out point for where I want the shot to end. And then I'm going to click on the video and drag this clip on top of the beach shot. I'm going to go to the Effects tab and I'm going to search for Ultra Key. I'm going to click and drag that effect onto the green screen footage in the timeline. Then under my Effects Control panel underneath the Ultra Key effect, next to Key Color, I'm going to click on the eyedropper to select the color I want to key out. So in this case, let's go ahead and select the green of the background from the program viewer. Immediately, you're going to see the green disappear, and now we can see the beach beneath the clouds, and it looks pretty good already. But to make further adjustments to the key, first set your output to the alpha channel. It's recommended to always use the alpha channel, and I'll explain why. The white represents what is opaque, the part of the image that's not being keyed out, which is basically everything except for the green, right? And the black represents what is transparent, which in this case, it's all of the green that is now gone. And the parts of the image that are gray are translucent, which essentially means that it is partly transparent. And the reason why it's good to edit in this mode is because you want the black of the image to be completely black. That's how you achieve the best green screen. And you want the white to be almost fully white so there's no shadow, so you know that it's not being affected or being removed from the scene. So Ultra Key comes with 4 presets: a default, relaxed, aggressive, and custom. So let's go ahead and select default to get started. And I'm going to walk through what each of these mean here. So transparency controls how transparent you want the white part to be, going from completely invisible to opaque. And this is sort of counterintuitive, but the lower the number, the more opaque it gets, and the higher the number, it gets more transparent. So typically you want the white to be solid, not too transparent, but since we're dealing with clouds, I actually want a little bit of transparency happening, so I'm going to set it to 45. In the highlights, just like with color correction, this controls the intensity of the bright parts of the image. So if you increase the number, the more intense the brightest parts of the white will become. And so for this shot, I'm going to keep the highlights at about 10. I think that looks great. And the shadows, now this part can be a little bit confusing because it's not actually controlling the shadows that you see right now in the white on the screen, but it's actually designed to remove shadows from the original green background, right? So if there's shadows happening, you'll notice some like specks in gray on the black matte of the green. But right now we don't have any shadows on the black, so we don't need to actually adjust this. It is what we want right now. And for tolerance, I haven't yet found a need to actually adjust tolerance yet. You'll notice if I move it to 0 and then I move it to 100, nothing really happens. So we're just going to ignore tolerance right now. And now for the pedestal, I have no idea why it's actually called pedestal, because pedestal is like, you know, like a column or something that supports something like structurally. And also idiomatically, it means like to idealize and worship something. So I like was looking up the definition and I was like, I don't get why it's called pedestal. But if you know, leave a comment below. But I really think that it should just be called background cleaner or something like that. This tool basically removes like the unwanted gray areas and helps you like clean up the background to make it more black. And in our case, the higher you'll go, you'll see that it actually cleans up some of the darker grays around the edges of the clouds. And so since I want to see more of the sky in the background, I'm going to actually set it to about 50, as I want to have more holes for visibility. And then on to the matte cleanup. This is where you can make any final touch-ups to the edges of the white portion of the image. I don't need to do much in this scene, but if I were to increase the choke to 70, you'll see that it literally chokes and cuts off part of the edges to make that part smaller, so the cloud smaller. And typically you don't want to choke more than 20, as that actually starts removing parts of the subject from the foreground. So for example, if you had like a person, it would actually start taking away from their head and their face, and you don't want that. So it's only really designed, the choke is designed to only remove sort of unwanted like green outlines that sort of still are surrounding the subject. And softening will actually feather the edges of the matte to make it more clean. So if it's a bit of an abrupt cut, you can soften it up a bit. You probably don't want to soften again more than 20, because it also starts to take away some of the image as well. So I'm just going to keep it at 0. And then contrast will increase the contrast between the background and the foreground. I don't need any of that right now, so I'm just going to leave it at 0. So let's go ahead and change the output back to composite mode, and we can see what it looks like. So it looks great to me, and I think that right now it ends abruptly, right? So I want the cloud to slowly fade out to make it appear as if the cloud sort of like zooms past the camera, because the camera's moving here in this shot. I actually used a film impact zoom blur, and it's part of a transition pack that you can purchase from Film Impact. I highly recommend their transitions, some of the best out there. And you can get 15% off using my code PREMIERGAL, all caps, and that expires in April of 2017. So go ahead to filmimpact.net to check that out. And so now what you do is you search for the zoom blur in the effects tab and drag and drop it on the end of the clip and click on that transition in the timeline. And then under effects controls, there are a lot of parameters that we can use to adjust it to make it appear more natural, because right now it kind of zooms out really fast. So we can reduce the zoom amount to about 5, and then let's change the zoom away to about 17 or 15, something like that. And we can also reduce the speed by dragging out the effect here in the effects controls tab. And now let's play it back to see how it looks. So the shot looks pretty good, except the blur looks a little bit strong to me. So I'm going to reduce it from 75 to 35. Now that looks a lot better. If you don't have the Film Impact Zoom Blur, you can also keyframe the opacity to achieve a similar effect. So there's one spot where I want to add clouds at about 3 seconds. It's when it transitions from shot 1 to shot 2. So let me add another portion of the green screen clouds to this section in the timeline. And what I'm going to do is copy the first shot that I keyed out, and I'm going to right click on my new clip and select Paste Attributes. And then this brings up a dialog box, and the only attribute that you want to paste is the Ultra Key Effect. So make sure that that is the only attribute selected right now, and then press OK. And now the exact same Ultra key is on that clip, and I don't have to do the whole process again. And so that's why it's so great to have that copy and paste attribute feature. And so then instead of doing the zoom effect like the first one, I'm actually going to make the clouds disappear by keyframing the opacity. So go ahead and select that clip, and under Effects Controls, click Add Keyframe at the point where you want it to start to disappear. And then you scrub down to a new time code, and this can be where you want the clouds to fully disappear. And this is where you can change the opacity to 0. And then you can adjust the velocity rate of the disappearance. So you can move these curves up and down, and you can see that now they are temporal keyframes, changing the velocity over time. And so now let's go ahead and play it back, and let's see how it looks. It looks pretty smooth, right? So it's pretty cool what you can do with just some basic keyframing with opacity. And now if we play back from the beginning, you will see that the credit sequence is now more visually interesting. And this is just one way you can use green screen shots in Premiere Pro. And if you want me to demonstrate other types of shots, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!